This episode of Uzo Talk is brought to you by Kingsford Smith Transport. Have a group that needs transporting? KST has you covered with their fleet of professionally maintained buses and coaches, catering from 9 to 57 passengers and driven by experienced drivers. Visit kstbuses.com.au to talk to the team and make your booking. Kingsford Smith Transport, proud sponsors of the Uzo Talk podcast. There's no Uzo Talk without a bottle of Uzo, which is why we love the Greek Providor. Get a real taste of the very best produce that Greece has to offer. From olive oils and delicious artisan sweets, to unique spirits, earthy herbs and memorable wines. Visit thegreekprovidor.com.au to see their amazing range. The Greek Providor, proud sponsors of the Uzo Talk podcast.
Sound is.
Nick, it's been a while since we talked football, isn't it? I think you've got to go back to the episode with Andy Pascalidis for us to be actually talking Greek soccer.
Wow, that far back.
I think so.
Look, it's perfect timing to start talking about soccer again. So we just had the Women's World Cup and so forth.
Absolutely, and what a success that was as well. Did you ever expect to have that many people at a Women's World Cup game anywhere in the world, let alone in Australia?
It was unbelievable. Filled out stadiums, you know, Australia did extremely well, and yeah, it was a great event. Unfortunately, we weren't here. We're in the motherland, but
we were.
But we could still hear all the noise from all the way from Greece.
Well, we were watching the games there, and with absolutely great interest. You know, the game against England in particular, and yeah, unbelievable effort. Great job to the girls and to everyone involved. But look, no doubt, Andy, as we mentioned, you know, is the voice of Australian football. But we're now going to move over to Greek football for the first time and actually take a bit of a deep dive with someone who not only played in Greece but played for Greece. Ready for this one?
Yes, I am, mate.
Okay,
Locked
here we
and
go.
Loaded.
Our guest is a former international goalkeeper who made 12 appearances in goal for Greece between 84 and 89, where he played both friendlies as well as World Cup qualifiers. In the hugely tribal Greek league, he played 95 games for AEK between 1977 and 1996. Fans even gave him the nickname Mr Protathlima after he helped them win their first title in 10 years. He was also voted as best player in the league by his peers in the Greek media. Mention the name to any AEK fan and you're likely to get far more than just a smile from them, let me tell you, Nick. The best part about this is that he's from right here in the Uzo Talk backyard, believe it or not. So, joining us in the distillery is Spiros Economopoulos. Spiro, welcome to Uzo Talk, mate.
Hello, how are you?
Welcome, Spiro.
Thank you.
Now,
Do you want to translate his nickname to English?
Mr Protathlima, so Mr Championship.
Mr. Championship. How's that for a nickname?
It's
Great,
pretty
isn't
good. It is pretty good. And for those of you listening thinking he sounds strangely Australian, there's a good reason for that.
Yeah,
Tell us.
I was born here in Parramatta.
Yeah, right.
I grew up in Kiama. My parents decided to leave when I was 11 years old. But I always had contact with Australia, my friends, my family, a lot of talks on the phone.
Yeah.
Come and visit back and forth. So I kept the accent a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kiama would have been interesting. So that's, 2 hours south of
Beautiful.
Sydney.
Beautiful.
And we're talking, 1970s?
Yes, I was born in 1959. We moved to Kiama in mid-60s, maybe 64, I think.
Wow. There weren't
Yeah.
many Greeks around there, were there?
So it was only one more family from Edessa.
Really?
Yeah.
And do you guys have a fish and chip shop down there?
Yeah,
Or?
classic. What else would Greeks do?
Either that or a milk bar. One of the two.
Well, they're all together, actually. There were 3 shops in one.
Oh,
There was
right.
a milk bar, a restaurant, and a fish and chip shop.
Triple
Really?
whammy.
Yeah.
Far out.
Back in the day, it was really busy because there was no ring road outside of Kiama. So anybody who would want to travel after Kiama, anywhere, even down to Melbourne, they'd have to pass right outside the shop.
There you
So
go.
in the summer, it was crazy. There were like 15 people working
Really?
in that shop.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there you go,
Wow.
Nick. We have a former Greek goalkeeper and AEK player with a very Australian accent and an Australian upbringing. Did you ever expect that?
Mate, we've hit it all.
We have.
Well, I
ticks all
have
the
to add
boxes.
to that,
Well, here we go.
the whole soccer thing. I was watching it on TV.
Yeah.
Here in Australia, I was watching the English Premier League, or the league then. But it all started from cricket,
Oh,
Okay.
because I never played football here. So I only played tennis and cricket. And because I was very good at catching, when I went to school in Greece, and, you know, in the school we started to play football, they asked me, they said, what are you good at? And I said, I'm good at catching. All right, goalkeeper.
were you the wicket keeper?
Yeah,
Wow, in
Far
cricket.
out.
Yeah.
I can see how that would have helped.
yeah, that helped a lot.
Wow.
So you grew up playing cricket.
Yes.
You're a wicket keeper in cricket, which for the people that don't know is the guy that catches the ball
That's right.
behind the stumps.
Yep.
And then from there, people saw that you were good at catching.
Yeah, and I went over to Greece, and when you go to school, everybody plays football there, soccer.
Yep.
We call it football
in between lessons and all that. Mm-hmm. So because I was new and I was the Avstralaki, the Australian kid, the Aussie kid, they asked me, they said, what are you good at? I said, I'm good at catching because I used to play cricket.
Yeah, that's it.
And I was the non-chubby goalkeeper because all the other boys were chubby because they couldn't run. And they, you're goalkeeper.
Classic. Yeah. Well, that's how goalkeepers were picked in the old days, weren't they?
Especially
the kids that couldn't run.
At school.
Yeah. If you can't run, I'll put him in goalkeeper.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh dear. Well, look, and also we should mention that we actually share a little bit of a background because all three of us have actually worked for Qantas.
Yes.
There you go.
I'm still working for Qantas as a casual, but still working there.
The last one left.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, great to have you with us. But before we get into the meat of it, Nick, we need to have a drink. What do you reckon?
100%, mate. I'm holding my glass. I'm waiting for you to give me the nod.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Cheers, everybody. Yamas.
Welcome, Spiro.
Thank you.
Oh, great to
nice
have
to meet you guys.
Likewise. Okay, so...
I'll throw this to you, Tom.
Yeah, so, I think... So yeah, under normal circumstances, the what are we drinking segment of this podcast is usually managed by Nick.
Okay.
But
he's done a good job up to now.
Yeah. He has, but...
It's all very nice.
I'm handing the baton over.
Yeah, on this occasion, you probably couldn't tell us much about this one because this drink is actually homemade.
Yeah, I like the bottle. It's got my name on it.
Yeah. So this comes courtesy of my cousin Nick.
So what are we drinking, Tom?
So I see the Michael Jordan's there too, 23.
Yeah, 23.
So it's a homemade Spiro, so it's highly illegal, just, for any of the...
Don't tell anybody outside of here.
Exactly, yeah, for any law enforcement listening.
It's from Queensland. Wink, wink.
That's right. Yeah, so it's a homemade Spiro. So what he does is he actually tries to make wine first, and then whatever's left from that, he tries to distill down into this. Out of all the homemade brews that I've had, I've got to say, and this is not pissing in his pocket, this is probably the best one I've had because you can tell that there's honey in it for a start.
Yeah.
But there's also a bunch of other stuff in there that I can't pick and that he hasn't quite told me what's actually in there. But it doesn't seem like it's a homemade job, does it?
No, it seems like a premium quality Spiro. It's something that the Greek provider would provide for us.
Exactly.
But it is. It's
great.
You got that Spiro taste about it, and you got that nice. I couldn't pick it, but you pointed out it was honey.
Yeah.
The aftertaste. It's a really good drop, Nick. We might have to get you on as a sponsor.
Well, he doesn't sell it. He's it's for personal consumption. But Spiro, unfortunately, he is an Olympiacos fan, a mad Olympiacos fan.
We all have our faults, mate.
So shout out to you,
spitting
Nick.
it out.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Nick. Sorry for being Olympiaco, but you're doing okay this year, though, up to now.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be honest.
Absolutely. Well, look, Nick, thank you very much for the drink. We're gonna try and make short work of this bottle. But look, you've given us a little bit of your background, Spiro.
Yes.
Where's your family from in Greece? Tell us a little bit about where.
My family is from the northern part of Peloponnese, close to a city or town called Aegio. It's from a place called Akrata. That's my father's place, and my mother is closer to Aegio from a place called Valimitika.
Okay.
So back in the day, they met through sort of arranged wedding, and they got to know each other over there.
Okay.
And my father moved over here for he came first. I don't know if it was 6 months or a year or something, and then my mother moved over as well.
Yep.
And I think they started off in Newcastle, maybe. I'm not sure. I know that they were there for a while. My father's brother was here before, although he was younger. He came at 12 years old.
Really?
Here in Australia, yeah.
Wow.
So
who did he come with? Was he on his own?
On his own.
12-year-old on his own.
Yeah. And he was telling me a story because he's still alive now, and so is my father.
Yeah.
And he was telling me that as soon as he came here, because he said, look, I left, I was like, doing stuff over there, agriculture, that I didn't really go to school, so even my Greek wasn't that good. So I came over here, I didn't know a word of English. I went to this family, I started working, washing plates and all that. So I was 12 years old, I started crying. And I sent a letter to my father back in Greece, and I said, I want to come back. And his father said, you know, it was cruel days those days, you know, people were pretty tough and all that. He said, if you get yourself £2,000 at the time, it was pounds then you can make your way back. And never happened.
Wow. So, Spiro, what year were you talking about? 1950?
That will be mid-50s.
Mid-50s.
Yeah.
Wow. So he came in on his own as a 12-year-old, picked up a job cleaning dishes.
Yeah, they had someone arranged here to pick him up and take him. So he was doing dishes and stuff like that.
Wow. And did he ever go back or?
No, he's here.
Oh, so
he
he's
lives
stayed
in
here ever
Elwood.
since. Wow.
Yeah. Of course he lives in Elwood.
It's all that or Marrickville.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
it's a common story, though, isn't it? I mean, my grandfather, we've spoken about previously, came as a 14-year-old in 55.
There you go.
Thankfully, he had his older brother here, but, you know, it's an all too common story in this podcast, isn't it?
It is. But I think the 12-year-old back in the 1950s was a lot more mature than a 12-year-old now, I'd say, in 2023.
Yeah, but also lost. Don't forget that a 12-year-old these days could be, you know, bilingual. They could speak 2 languages. Not then.
True. Yeah, but they're a bit more independent, I'd have to say.
Yeah.
Because I just got back from
and
Greece.
Tougher.
Yeah, definitely. Because my mum was telling me stories. She was like 5-6 years old. She'd herd the goats up on top of this mountain on her own.
My mother used to do that too.
Yeah.
So that's the way they grew up over there.
You know, I couldn't imagine my 17-year-old doing that, let alone the 12-year-old.
That's right.
But they're a lot more mature and older back then, I'd have to say.
And also back then there was no communication. If you wanted to talk to someone, you had to write a letter.
Yep.
Wait for it to go back there for about 20 days. Then they'd have to answer back another 20 days, come over here and pick it up. That would be like a month and a half.
Wow.
And just, you know, scrappy writing.
Were the reasons financial for him coming here?
Usually it's that. And especially those days, don't forget that in the mid-50s was about approximately 10 years after the World War II.
Yep.
So, you know, Greece was destroyed and everybody would go away. It was either Australia, Germany or the United States.
Yeah. And we had the Civil War as well up till
That
1949.
That's right.
Yeah.
We never really had a chance to ever really recover from anything, did we? It was one into the next.
Constantly.
Yeah. So fast forward a little bit and you're born here, raised here. What was it like for you to grow up in... I mean, it is your country, given that you were born here. But at the time, I'm thinking that you were probably seen as an outsider in a lot of respects.
Yes, that's true. That's true because you would get the classical, typical blondie Australians. We were sort of more dark and with funny names, and you'd get a little bit of bullied and all that. But I managed to get through that.
How did you manage? Because we've heard a lot of stories.
It was just tough.
Yeah,
I just throw punches.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, so you had to literally fight.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how it was back then.
And you got respect that way.
Until I got bashed up by 3 because one of the kids brought his bigger brothers and they bashed me up under a bridge in Kiama. I still remember that one.
Yeah.
Really?
But that's the way it was. You know?
Tough times.
Yeah, because you were differently looking. Maybe our accent was different too, you know. Funny name, Spiro.
Yeah.
Some people call me Spiro, still do.
Yeah.
Because it's written with an I.
Yes.
So when did you actually go back to Greece?
In 1970.
1970.
And mind you that when we went to Greece, there was still dictatorship there.
Yeah,
so
true.
there was the dictatorship from the generals from 1967 to 1974.
Ah, right.
So we went over there. I was 11 years old and my brother was 9. You know, we went to a completely different place, atmosphere, different looking people. I got scared. We all got scared in the beginning, you know, like me, especially me and my brother, because we were younger and all these people were all dark and with beards and they would look, you know. And
you went back to Akrata?
we went straight to Akrata. That's where we stayed. My father wanted to live there. He didn't want to live in the city.
Yeah.
So how old were you then?
11.
11 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
When we went in April, where in June schools finish, so we didn't go to school. It was like a long holiday for me and my brother, and we would go around all these places, and it was a fun time. It was good. Started to learn the Greek language because we didn't know. Being here in Australia, our parents would try to talk Greek to us. We could understand, but we would generally respond in English.
Yeah.
Partly because we didn't, for one reason, because we didn't know how to speak Greek.
Yeah.
And the second reason was because most of the times we were embarrassed, especially in front of other people.
Yeah.
Sure.
We wouldn't want to speak Greek.
Yeah.
Even if we knew a few words.
And you wanted to
So
assimilate.
you had to try and pick that up over there while you were finding out cousins and friends and all that.
Wow.
And then the reality hit in September. We had to go to school. So that was a tough one.
Yeah.
Because what happens is I didn't go in the 6th grade,
Yeah.
which was a grade I'd had to, like the last class of primary, is it? Primary school?
Yep.
Yep.
I had to start from the beginning, from class 1.
Wow.
Me and my brother.
Wow.
So there were all kids like this, and then we were about a head higher, and then the other kids.
Wow.
So I had to do that for a few months to start jumping from class to class.
Yeah.
And then I reached up to 5th grade, and that's where they stopped me there because at the time in Greece, they would speak formal. The schools were like informal Greek. It wasn't the Greek that we speak every day.
Yes.
And it was tough for me because there were words I couldn't understand.
What's informal? Is it a local dialect?
I'll give you an idea. It's not a local dialect. I'll give you an idea. Like psomi, which is bread,
Yeah.
in formal Greek is artos, which you can hear it in the church as well. A lot.
Yep.
I would hear artos and I'd say, "What's that?" to my mother, and she said, "Psomi." Yeah. And I said, "Why don't they call it psomi so I can understand it?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So all this was really hard for me and my brother. And then at the time when you would finish primary school, you had to do tests and exams to pass to go into high school. So I wasn't ready for that, and obviously I went up to the 5th grade, and they said, "No, you'll do the whole
Thing again.
a year back from where you should be,
Yeah.
and then it'll be better for you." Yeah.
Wow. Is this the period where you got into soccer? Well, tell us about how you became
Well,
a
it
fan
started
of
from
football.
school first of all, and then after school because there was no.
Was it in Australia or was it in
no,
Greece?
that was in Greece.
So Australia,
no soccer
cricket,
at all.
tennis.
Cricket, tennis, and watching soccer, the English soccer from TV.
Okay.
There was Star Soccer then. There was a
So you
program.
had an interest.
Yeah, I liked it, and I used to draw a lot.
Okay.
And I used to draw soccer games with players and all that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Who was your team?
Well, Manchester United.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry, if you guys are Liverpool.
No. Oh, my son.
I
will be-
am, but
So I'm Liverpool, but my son's probably doing cartwheels upstairs. You know that?
Okay, if you heard it.
Oh, he's got a massive.
Come down, son.
Yeah, he's mad.
Anyway, yeah, Manchester United. And when I went to Greece, right, there was this goalkeeper who used to play. He's older than I am. He's probably mid-70s now. He used to play for Panathinaikos. And his surname is Economopoulos. He's considered one of the best goalkeepers ever in Greece, right? So when I went there at the age of 11 and I started watching football over there, I heard the name straight away, and you know how kids are, I'm going to be like him. We had the same name as well.
Sure.
So
Not related in any way?
No. So I became a Panathinaikos fan. And, you know, it's really funny because when I was going to school and I was playing and I was really good at it, I started to become really good as I was playing. I had this school mate that we used to go to school together. He was an AEK fan. Now, back in the day, it was majority Olympiakos Panathinaikos and a few AEK. You know? And he was like, they used to stand out. And as I was playing one day, I was playing this game and I was really good. I don't know how, but he turned around to me and says, "You know what? I think that one day you're going to play for AEK." I don't know how he said that.
Wow.
I still remember it. It's still ringing in my
ears.
ears.
How old were you at this time?
13,
13.
wow.
14.
So you just started
max.
playing, so you got picked as goalkeeper because you could catch?
Yeah, and then I started at 13 years old. I started playing for the local team.
As goalkeeper?
I was, a goalkeeper, and I was a reserve. Like the first goalkeeper was like 28 years old or something, and the reserve goalkeeper was 13
You're kidding.
or 14. I was really good.
Did you have a bit of height back then?
I actually grew my height after 14 years old. So around 14 to 15, one summer I just, boom, grew.
Yeah, because you're about 6'2".
I wasn't really tall in the beginning. But I was
Okay.
really agile and fast.
Wow. So you're 13 and you're reserve goalkeeper for
For the club.
which club was it?
Akrata.
Akrata.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
The big guys were playing. They're like 30-year-old, 32, 28, 25, 26.
So they saw you in the schoolyard. This kid's
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Did you
yeah.
play? What was your first game? Tell us about your first game that you played.
Look, I played a few friendlies when I was reserve, but what really happened was in...
Did you have an age group? Were you playing for 13s or something?
No, there at the town, it was just everybody all together.
Okay.
And even when I went to AEK, it was kind of like those days there was like the SAP, the really young kids.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then you would have a group which were the teens, which would be anywhere between 15 and 17 years old. And then you would have not exactly the reserve team, but it was like a second team of the
Okay.
professionals.
Yep.
Where you were still amateur. Some of the good players would become semi-professional. And then there was a professional team. And that was
Yeah.
it.
Wow.
There was no such thing like today where you have all these different age groups and you sort of move on and all that. Not then.
Wow. So you're 13 and you're...
Quick pathway.
Yeah. And you're reserved.
So what happened, I was lucky because at my hometown, one of the people that were high ranked in the committee of AEK was married to a lady from Akrata. So the word started going out. Akrata was also sponsored by AEK. So our first, I don't remember when it was, but when we started actually participating in the league, which had teams from Patra and all those areas, we were sponsored by AEK. So our official uniform was yellow and black.
All right.
Yeah. Now it's different anyway. So the word went around and he brought down my later mentor, Stelios Serafidis, who was one of the legends goalkeepers of AEK, and he was a coach at the time.
Right.
So they brought him down, and in 1976, 77, they took me to AEK. So we moved to Athens with my mother. My parents had separated at the time.
Right.
And we moved to Athens with my mother. And I started training for AEK, for the amateurs and young team.
Yeah.
And then on the weekend, I travelled to Akrata to play.
Wow.
So I was the first choice goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I'd play. I was like 17 years old then. 16, 17 years old.
So how old were you when you made the move to Athens?
About 16, 17, 1970.
So you landed as an 11-year-old. 13-year-old, you're reserved for Akrata.
Yeah.
And then you impressed everyone in that area.
Yeah.
So the next 3 years, you're in Athens with AEK. Wow.
Yeah. And I was playing for Akrata. So I remember then I'd go to school, and then school was even on Saturday in Greece.
Right, okay.
And unfortunately, there were weeks where I was afternoon. So I'd finish Saturday afternoon around 6:30 in the afternoon. I'd have to leave straight away, take a taxi, go down to the buses, take a 2-hour drive down to Akrata with the bus, end up I don't know what time, and then go to bed and prepare the next day to go play a game with the team. And come back because Monday morning, Monday morning I had to go to school again.
Wow.
And in between, I had 2 to 3 training sessions a week for AEK, and I had to move quite a distance from where I used to. So I had to take 2 buses and a train and walk a couple of kilometres to go for training and come back.
So where in Athens did you live? Because I'm assuming...
Well, I used to live in Zographou.
Okay.
So then, as you can imagine, Zographou is one area in one place, and Nea Filadelfia is in the other side.
I was going to say, Nea Filadelfia, I'm guessing is where you used to
take
train.
buses, I had to walk, I had to take the train and then walk again.
I mean, it takes commitment. And at that age, what was that like for you? Was it a bit of a culture shock to say, I'm almost a semi-professional or a professional footballer now?
You feel like an alien, first of all, because I was still going to school.
Yeah.
I hadn't finished high school yet. I was in the 5th grade of high school.
Yeah.
That's what it was called at the time. Now, if you tell me year 17 or whatever, I don't even know what you're talking about. So it was year 5 in high school.
Yep.
So I remember because we had a certain amount of sickies we could take from school to be justified so you could not miss the term. I remember my friends, as soon as the weather started being really good in April, they used to take the sickie to go to swimming or play pool, and I would take a sickie every week to go and do an extra training session.
Yeah, right.
So I felt like an alien because all my friends were associating together, trying to find girls, all the good times, and I was like,
you
have to go there.
Yeah, wow.
So I had a commitment, although I never knew if I could become something or not. It just, that's the way I was from a kid.
Wow.
Always. My mother used to tell me, she said, anytime you would prepare to go to play a cricket game away from Kiama, where I had a suitcase with all my stuff, I never fixed anything for you. You would open the suitcase and put your socks and put your uniform and everything, close it, take it with you, bring it back. I don't know. That was probably my character, being disciplined from a young kid. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So you're about 17 now.
Yeah.
You're gone to AEK. Obviously, you were impressing there. People were...
Mind you that the first time I saw a pitch with grass was then.
Oh, really?
Because where you used to play in the towns, it was all gravel.
Yeah.
And your training sessions were there too.
Yeah.
Mind you, there was no actual goalkeeper kits, especially for pads for elbows or knees or hips or whatever. We just had a cheap pair of gloves and that was it. And you had to dive.
Wow.
So you being on a grass pitch would have been like being at the
First
Hilton.
of all, when I walked and saw it, I thought, well, this is probably painted or something. It looked like a painting.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I thought, what a luxury to have.
That's right.
Yeah. So you grew up in a country town in Kiama. Went to Akrata, which is a
Country town
small
again.
country town again.
And like Kiama, because it's almost the same distance from Athens, from Sydney.
Really?
Almost the same distance, maybe 30 kilometres further.
Yeah.
And it was on the beach.
Yeah, wow.
Akrata's on the beach too.
And then you move into a big city like Athens.
Yeah.
So that would have been an eye-opener for you alone.
Yes, because we went to school, again, there was that thing, you don't know anybody, you know, and I don't know how the kids could tell, but you look like you come from the countryside, all right? Then for the first time in my life, I went to an all-boys school, used to being from Australia and Akrata into a mixed school,
Yep.
so no girls, it was just guys. It was tough too.
Okay, so from there, was it 1977 you had your first game for AEK? In the
I started
top
playing
league?
in the youth.
In the youth, yeah.
The teens sort of thing. We won the championship in the south, and we beat PAOK, who won the championship in the north. We beat them. We played in Trikala. I remember that game.
Wow.
And we beat them, and we won the whole thing. Now, mind you, my first game. Right.
Yep.
Now, when I used to play in Akrata,
Yep.
it was about 100, 200 people, something like that. All right. Now, my first game with AEK in the teens was against Olympiakos in Karaiskaki. And we used to play just before the big game.
Really?
All right. So I walked into the pitch. There was about 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people
Yep.
at the time. Second half, when we had the break and we walked in, it
Yep.
was packed. 40,000 people.
Really?
40,000, because then there was no like live on TV or whatever, and
Yep.
they used to like watching the young kids as well, because talents would pop out. It wasn't these times where you get all these Africans and everybody's a European. Then it was Greek,
Yeah.
and all the clubs in Europe had only 2 foreigners. You know what I mean? So it was all Greek,
Yeah.
and that's why people were really interested in watching the young players play too, to find out the new talents and whatever. So I walked in the second half literally with 40,000 people, and they're all against us, you know.
Tell us about the abuse. Had you ever heard anything like that?
Did you cop abuse at that young age?
Oh yeah, of course.
At that young age?
Yeah.
So you were like
Yeah,
16?
because I was playing exactly behind the whole stand of Olympiacos.
I've
The
got
second
a
half.
lot of questions on that.
Oh yeah, forget about it.
Or maybe we can start now.
But you know that winds you up though.
Yeah.
The bad part is when you're playing bad and you hear, you know, from your own.
Yeah, okay.
When you hear that, it really brings you down.
Yeah.
But when you hear it from the other ones, and you know that, oh, you know what, if they're swearing at me,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
we're good. The whole
So
team.
that motivated you.
Of course.
So
Of course, it winds you up.
if they weren't swearing at you, you'd get...
Oh, there was no way. We're
Okay.
Greeks, mate. You know that.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest sledges I've ever heard in my life were at a Greek soccer game.
Yeah.
At a PAOK game, actually.
Really?
It's next level there. It's unbelievable.
Well, maybe Spiro,
They're very
tell us.
creative as well. You know, the most creative fans
Yeah.
that used to come up with all these chants with swear words and all that was the Panionio.
Right.
And the guys that were the guys that were standing down at the ground level.
Yep.
There was a, how do you call the kagila, the barriers,
The netting that they put.
whatever.
Yeah.
They would stand behind that. They would walk around. They would swear
Yeah.
at the guys upstairs, and they would swear at the guys in
Wow.
the soccer players.
Can you give us some examples of what...
Oh, I don't.
We can always edit it if it's too bad.
We don't usually edit that stuff out. Does anything come to mind? Or
Oh, there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Okay, so
All
talk
right,
about your mother and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, a lot. Yeah. Or
fair enough.
your team would score a goal towards the end, and you know all the whole ground would start saying "Και τώρα μπορείτε να παναγαμηθείτε," and all that.
Classic.
I'm saying it in Greek, so
Yeah.
you know, stuff like that. It's hilarious actually. If you're in the stand and you're listening,
Yeah.
it's great value.
oh, it's hilarious.
That's why people go to the games. It's entertaining. You don't see that on TV.
Absolutely.
And there was not much violence then when I was growing up as a soccer player.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of how creative they are. Right. I used to have friends, singers. Now, you've heard of Yannis Parios, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Now, we used to be friends with Pario.
Okay.
So he would tell me that he was invited once. Yannis Parios is one of the really high top members of Panathinaikos. Right? He's a Panathinaiko. So he told me he was invited to go and see a game, Olympiakos Panathinaikos, στο Καραϊσκάκι.
Yep.
So he says, I go with my car and I go into the VIP section to park my car. And then there's fans from Olympiacos, they see me. But apparently the people that were supposed to come and pick him from the parking to take him in were a bit late. So he gets out of the car and there's all these people now that are surrounding him. And they know he's Panathinaiko, right?
Yeah.
So he goes to me. I thought they were going to like attack me or whatever. So suddenly they all started singing together.
Yeah.
Da la ras, da la ras. You know what I mean?
Wow.
The other big singer.
Wow.
You
like
know?
his
So just to get to him. You
Just
know
to
what I
rile
mean?
him up.
So that's creative. That's a nice. I like that kind of.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
rivalry.
Witty. It's very witty.
Yeah. But these days it's like.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
with a knife.
Which we saw recently, unfortunately.
I think that's a global phenomenon. It has to do with the suppression that people have, especially lower class people. Then you get all these people that are extremists or fundamental fanatics or whatever you want to call them, and they just mingle themselves into clubs like fan clubs because there's an anonymous there, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm anonymous. I create whatever I create because I'm against the system or the government or whatever you want to call it, and I just find a place to hide, and that's how it usually happens. Or you get extremists, you get Nazis, you get a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about Greece now, I'm talking about general.
In general, it's a global thing.
Yeah, and it's a global thing, and unfortunately, I think that only England has done the best.
Oh, really?
And it took a lady to do it, Thatcher. You remember that? Okay, I remember the game Liverpool against Juventus when it all started at Hazel in Belgium when people were killed.
Yep.
Then the English teams got banned from. I think they got 2 or 3 years from UEFA, and then Thatcher said no, 7 years. And you know how much money that cost all the clubs and all that. But she didn't care. She said, "This is the way we're going to fix it."
Yeah.
And then they implemented the video cameras and the laws that said if you get caught in any game anywhere, you're not allowed to go in any other game again for life. So imagine if you love soccer or football, and you get banned and you can't go and see even a local game.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what it takes.
It's a great deterrent.
Yeah,
it is.
That's what it takes.
Well, it's the lifeblood of these communities, the football. That's what they live and breathe.
That's
so,
right.
yeah, wow. Yeah, look, I must admit, we felt quite safe. We went to a Man United and Everton game with my son. And I wasn't sure. Like, I've seen stuff on YouTube and I start to get a bit nervous. I got my 13-year-old son with me. And I said to him, look, maybe don't wear your United gear. Okay, I don't know what we're in for here. I've seen a lot of things on YouTube. But look, he wanted to wear it. I thought, you know what? Fuck it, just wear it. And it was a home game and nothing happened. It was all good. It was all amicable.
Usually nothing happens. First of all, because of the way, as I said, that things are over there with the law.
Yeah.
It's very strict.
Well, they segregated the opposition people.
Well, that's what you do.
Yeah.
See, all that with what I mentioned with Liverpool and Juventus then started and happened because the Belgians sold to both teams in the same area. Yeah. There was no barriers, there was nothing.
Yeah.
And that's how it all started. Liverpool fans attacked the Juventus, they tried to jump over, then they got crushed, and that's how it all started. And I was surprised the game went ahead.
Yeah.
The game did go ahead.
Yeah, wow.
And Juventus won that game with a penalty that was given to them. It was about a metre outside the box.
Oh, really?
He was tackled a metre outside the box and the referee went penalty. And Juventus beat Liverpool 1-0.
And then that was
I remember that. I was supporting Liverpool because I liked English soccer. I didn't. At the time, I wasn't aware of the rivalry. I never knew there was rivalry between Manchester United and Liverpool.
Yeah.
Because when you're in Greece at that time, there's no information.
Yeah.
So I never knew about all this. I found out later when I was much older.
Sure.
Yeah. Wow.
What was your first thought when you heard about that? You know, that young kid that was murdered essentially earlier this year between, the AEK fan when Dynamo Zagreb was there.
It started much earlier. There were other fans, like in Thessaloniki, there was this guy, a young kid who was sitting at a coffee shop having his coffee, and 2-3 blokes approached him and said, "What team are you?" Or they saw the Fanilla, they were PAOK, and they stabbed him. So this has been going on. It's not just with Michali. I don't know. I was really surprised because these people were a convoy of I don't know how many cars. And they left from Zagreb to come to Greece.
And someone knew about it. Like
everybody knew about it. The
off.
police knew about it. And apparently the rumour is that they have been escorted and been familiarised with the area from a couple of Panathinaikos fans.
Right.
Yeah, that's the rumour. And in the videos you can see it as well. Because when they're attacking people, you can hear someone who can speak Greek swearing. Look, as I said, I'm not saying that, AEK saints. In every club, there's an
element of it.
Yeah.
There's an element of it, and
But
unfortunately, that's sad.
When it comes to targeting someone with a knife to stab them,
I don't know, mate. I don't know if they're on drugs or something.
Yeah.
I can't pick up. I'm afraid to pick up a knife and pick something to eat.
Yeah.
Let alone start chasing someone with it.
yeah.
I mean, we were in Greece when that happened, and I mean, the mood changed completely in the country when all of this happened. And the return game,
You feel unprotected.
yes,
All right, that's the word.
yeah.
So what was the aftermath with all that? Did they end up arresting anyone?
They have arrested people. Some Greeks, some are from Croatia, and
they've arrested Greeks.
yes, as well.
Oh, wow.
But only a couple, and the majority is people from up there.
Okay.
So there's a court. There's an ongoing thing now. I don't know what's going to happen. you know.
And were the police reprimanded in any way?
I don't know how to say it, but it's a funny thing because they had seen them. They knew because they were on social media. These guys.
Yeah. So
Right.
they weren't hiding the
So
fact.
from Zagreb to Athens is like, I don't know, 1,000 something kilometers.
Yeah.
So they knew about it. And the funny thing is they didn't stop them at the last toll road before Athens and tell them, look, we know you're here.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be here. So if you come here just to have a look at Athens, we'll be monitoring you. Don't go anywhere near that area. But nobody told them anything because they have sort of like a brotherhood.
Yeah.
Panathinaikos and like AEK had with Marseille in France.
right.
They have a brotherhood.
Really?
You know what I mean?
A connection somehow.
Yeah, connection.
Turning to more, positive stuff. I mean, we talk about that tribalism in Greek football. You mentioned earlier that, you had a soft spot for Panathinaikos growing up.
Yeah, because it just happened that player had my surname and I was a kid.
Yeah.
So,
So how did it feel for you, given that tribalism, to then go to AEK? Were there any mixed feelings from your end?
No, there was no mixed feelings at all because I knew the person who took me there.
Yeah.
Because I told you he was married
Yes.
to a lady down in Akrata. So I knew him, I'd met him, I knew who he was. And then, I went to a big club.
I mean, it's become a bit of a love affair for you now,
And
hasn't
the
it?
funny part is about it that when I became professional, I started playing for AEK. The media, some big reporter from AEK had organised a meeting for me
Yep.
and that other Economopoulos, who was still active at the time,
Wow.
to meet and talk. So for me, suddenly
you
to
met
see
him.
someone that I used to watch on TV and played in cards that you buy from the Periptero,
Yeah.
just meet him and sort of be on the same level with him.
Yeah.
For me, it was
Euphoric.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell us about your first game for AEK now.
At the time, the coach had changed. There was an Austrian coach who was coaching the team, and he could see how hard I was working at training sessions. So I used to go there an hour before, and I'd start training while the others were in the dressing room.
Really?
And then I'd do all the whole training, and then after I'd do special training with the coach and with the goalkeeper coach, just the three of us, for another hour. And I remember that the guy who was responsible, the two guys that were responsible inside for the dressing room and to wash the clothes and all that, would come out because it'd start getting dark, and he'd start shouting and say, "I want to go home. Come on, finish. I want to wash the clothes and go."
Really?
And that used to happen every day. So at some stage, because there was like a little injury with one goalkeeper, or the other goalkeeper was not playing that well.
So were you second or third in line?
I was third in line.
Third in line.
I was third in line because the first goalkeeper was around 30 years old. And the second goalkeeper was like 27 or 28. So I was 19 at the time.
19.
All right. That coach, from what I read after and what I heard, had considered to start me. But he was afraid. He was afraid because the team was not playing that well, and he thought that, look, if I play that kid and he doesn't play well, they're all going to, apart from attacking him, they're all going to attack the kid as well. And he might, it might be bad for his beginning of his career. So he sort of let it go.
Try to protect you.
And then he got sacked, and then a Greek, one of the Greek old players from AEK, Papapostoglou Miltos, who was after had become the Greek national coach, he came in, and he saw that too. And when he was asked, he actually said these words. He said that the amount of training that Spiro does, or the whole bunch, the rest do the same. So all the others do one Spiro training.
Really?
He actually said that. And he played me in the first game we played in Nea Filadelfia at home against Apollona. We beat them 2-1.
That was your first game?
That was my first game.
So tell us right at the beginning. So when did you get the first tap on the shoulder and say, hey, listen, you'll start?
On Friday.
Did you start or were you coming off the bench?
Start.
So the coach comes in. Did he call you into his office?
Yeah, he called me into his office and he said, look,
did you get a bit nervous? How were you feeling?
Of course.
Thinking, fuck, what have I done?
Of course, yeah. But look, he stood behind me from the beginning. He said, look, I know that you're young and you're inexperienced. There's nothing you should fear about. You're very well trained. You play against the other players like Thoma Mavro, Bajevic and all that. So he said, look, you're ready. And you don't have to worry about anything. Anything that happens, you're not responsible, I'm responsible. So that's what he told me.
Wow.
And so you have nothing to fear. Yeah.
So told you on Friday. When was the game?
Sunday. Yeah.
And how did you feel?
So then Saturday we went to the... Well, look...
Were you shitting yourself?
Yeah, of course, there was concerns, you know what I mean? Because this is the real deal now.
Did you sleep?
And I was like 20 years old. No, I did sleep.
Yeah,
I did
okay.
Sleep. So I played that game, and funny enough or not, the next game was against Olympiacos.
Yeah.
And we were playing...
So what were the sheds like? You come in, you're at your home ground, you're about to start your first game.
Yeah.
What was it like walking out? Could you hear the crowd?
Oh,
Could
yeah,
you smell the flares in the air?
Of course. Yeah, it was really, now that, you know, you walk in and you say to yourself, well, this is reality, you know.
Yeah.
You got to show up and play well. And I did play well.
What were your teammates? Were they slapping you on the back, wishing you luck?
Yeah, they were all encouraging. And they told me, everybody, especially in the defence, they said, Spiro, whatever you want, you know, goal kicks, we'll do it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And all that stuff, you know, feel free.
Yeah.
If you want to go out for a cross, just call it and one of us will run behind. And if you miss it, we're behind, don't worry.
Yeah.
So, you know, they were all very encouraging because, mind you, at the time, goalkeepers at that age would not play for big clubs. You know, Panathinaikos had, at the time, Kostadinu, who was 30 years old.
Yeah.
PAOK had a Yugoslavian, Fortula. He was about 30 years old too. Olympiacos was Arvanitis.
Yeah.
And then Sarganis as well. All these goalkeepers were over 26 years old.
So they were like the
and they
elder
were
statesmen.
very experienced.
Yeah.
So I was 20.
Yeah.
No experience at all. The previous club was Akrata.
Yeah.
You know, on the gravel.
Yeah.
You know what
So
I mean?
is soccer... Again, me and Tom have played rugby league, and we always say to get rid of your nerves, you got to get your hands on the ball early or make a tackle early.
Is
goalkeeper
helps
the
a lot.
same?
It helps a lot for a goalkeeper who's going to be judged probably by once in the game.
Yeah,
because you never know.
Yeah.
You know, and it could happen the 80th minute.
It's
you
just
have
moments.
to be warm and ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you come on, the whistle goes.
Yeah.
And how were you feeling?
Well,
then?
I was okay because I was playing on the side where the fanatics are.
Yeah.
Of AEK, and they all
cheering you on
and all that, and you could hear occasionally people.
Do you ever look back at them?
Spirara, you know, of course. You know, don't worry, Mr. Mastado, you know, stuff like that. You could hear that.
Wow.
Yeah, individually.
And how did the game end?
We beat them 2-1.
2-1.
And then the next game now...
Did you do any good saves in that game?
Yeah, a couple of good saves too.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't my fault for the goal.
How was the goal?
Oh, it was from a close range there.
Okay. Tapped it in.
So anyway, yeah. So now the thing is that next week we were playing against Olympiacos.
Yeah.
All right? And we were playing... Olympiacos was punished and we had to play in Chalkida, which is like, I don't know, 70 kilometres away from Athens, something like that. We were playing there
just topping up.
And, you know, nobody had...
Yeah.
Nobody knew who was going to play goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Because I played against Apollona at home.
Yeah.
But now you're playing against Olympiacos, right? So I found out on Saturday. And actually there was talks about it with the coach because how presidents were there. They would talk with the coaches asking who's going to play and all that. And he told him that I'm thinking of playing Spiro again. And the president was really worried. And he said, well, he's a young kid, you know, we're playing against Olympiacos. It's not the same game as the previous one.
Was it a home game?
No, it was away Chalkida.
Chalkida. Yeah.
But it was because it was Olympiacos, they were punished for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the majority of fans were Olympiacos. At that game, I had a couple of friends from Akrata that were Olympiacos, and they found tickets and they took my father as well.
Oh, really?
So my father was sitting right in the middle of Olympiacos fans, and he had to shut up. And I was playing well that game. We ended up drawing 0-0.
Olympiacos?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I played well that game
And were
too.
they the gun team at the time? Were they winning the league?
They were winning the league then, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we were like third or something like that. So I played well there, and then from then on I played for a while, and then unfortunately I went to the army.
Yeah. What was the away crowd like in that
they were
second
loud.
game?
Yeah.
What were they? You remember anything they were saying to you?
Oh, not really. They were cheering mostly against Olympiacos, but I remember some of them saying like when I would go and get the ball from close to the because I was like tall and thin.
Wow.
I was not really built yet. I was 20 years old. And that's the expression you use in Greek.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, you know.
Classic.
And then my father, you know,
so they don't throw
swearing
stuff at you, do they?
No,
they don't throw.
No, there was not much of that.
Okay.
Not really. No, it was just verbal.
Yeah, so nil-all, that would have been massive. And your dad would have been proud in the crowd.
Oh, yeah, of course, but he couldn't talk.
Yeah, he couldn't say anything.
I said, pretend that you're mute or something, you know, you can't hear. You know,
and did you do any
you're going to hear a lot. So
and you did some big saves?
I did a couple of big saves.
Wow, so you saved the team. And what was it like in the change room afterwards? Were they all...
Oh, yeah, and you know, I could see, because I don't know how this was, because this was just a place that there's... Khalkida used to play, which was like a third division team.
Oh, right, okay.
So
wasn't
both dressing rooms were close to each other.
Yeah.
And then all the toilets and the showers were common. So when we went to have a shower after the game, I was with the Olympiacos players as well.
Oh, really?
And I could see some of the players like really looking at me, and even before in the game as well.
Where were they looking?
Some of the attackers they were looking. So
he's Greek, but he's not that Greek, he says.
They were looking at me even in the game, you know, like, because they never knew me, you know. Yeah, that's funny.
Sorry, the Spiros kicking in.
That's all right. No, look, I said it, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, even in the game, you know, like the players were really looking at me, and they were trying to figure out, because I was really, how do you say, not arrogant, but, you know, I was like...
You're confident.
Yeah, really confident. And they thought, you know, we've never heard of this guy. Who's this guy? He's like 20 years old. What the hell's going on? And they could see that I was confident, because I was going out my box playing with the feet as well when I had to. Yeah. And clear, you know, some forward passes and stuff like that. Or there were crosses I'd go out for.
So you're quite ballsy when you're doing it. And they picked up on it.
Looking like that.
Confidence is everything.
Especially Galakos, because Galakos had just come a few years before, and he was playing for Olympiacos. He came from Germany, right?
Yeah.
Left footer, considered one of the really good strikers that Greece ever had.
Yeah,
Mike Galakos.
And he was for Olympiacos.
And so he was looking like that, and you could see he like sort of, what's going on? He was trying to figure out, you know.
So
sort of
sounds like he was
trying to see if I had a weak spot or something.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so you're getting a bit of
you
that.
out.
Yeah.
So the next time they're playing,
or they're trying to intimidate you, you know.
Oh, but obviously it didn't work.
No.
You're like a bull,
really.
a raging bull.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, because probably I had ignorance of danger.
Yeah.
Because I was young and I was really enthusiastic about the fact that I'm going to be playing.
Yeah.
So I never, you know, feared or had any knowledge about danger.
Fearless.
I was just in there, you know, to do what I know.
Yeah.
And that's how it was.
So once you got into the team, did you stay there for
I stayed for a while.
Yep.
And then after about... I don't know, about 6 months maybe, or a bit more. Unfortunately, I had to go to the army. Now, that was the thing there back in the day when I was there. Because in the beginning I went as an Australian citizen, but by descent I was Greek. There came a time at some age that I had to either leave, come back to Australia, or do my paperwork and declare to go to the army. Because it's mandatory, all right?
Yep.
So I had to serve the army.
Yep.
And, you know, back in the day, it wasn't that easy as it is today. We had problems with Turkey all the time.
Yeah.
You know, Turkey was sending spy ships out. Once you were in the army, it doesn't matter even for soccer, you couldn't just get exemptions and paperwork to hand out to say, you can go and do your training and come back in 3 days or 4 days or whatever. And mind you that because I had to be close to Athens, the only way I could be close to Athens is to declare that I want to be in Special Forces.
Oh, God.
So, you know,
so
either
you
Green Beret or, you know, or Marine. So I was a Marine.
Yeah, right.
So when I went for a Marine, I had to do it was during the summer when we had holidays. I wanted to rest because it was my first 8 months or something that I was playing. And I was, you know, mentally tired as well, and I wanted to build up.
Yep.
And then I had to go and do Marine training, you know, getting on ropes and going up and down hills and on ships and all of that stuff.
Wow. And I hear from people who I know have been in Ειδικές Δυνάμεις and whatnot that it's not just the physicality side of it, it's the mental side of
that's
it.
right.
That's the killer.
Yeah, they wake you up and throw buckets of water on you and stuff like
Wow,
that.
that's what you copped.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Remember I was telling you about it?
Yeah, definitely. So you could still play, even though you did special
Well,
forces?
that's the problem that, when I started that, because the guys left and then I had to come back after a month to start pre-season training with the team.
Yeah.
Because the facilities were not, it's not like eating at home and stuff.
Ah, right.
I wouldn't, or if you would eat, and because they had the stuff out in the sun, you would get food poisoning.
Well, even for special forces?
Yeah, and stuff like that. So what happens is I started losing weight.
Ah, right.
So I was sort of, you can see even now, I was never really built up. I was muscly and toned, but I was never like, a huge goalkeeper like Schmeichel, for example. I lost about 5 to 6 kilos. Now, when you're 80 kilos playing and you go down to 74 and you're 185 height, that's very light, So the wind can sort of blow you away.
Okay.
And you start feeling weak. And when you start feeling weak, your confidence drops. So then I had to go into pre-season, and then at some stage they brought in some other goalkeeper, and that's the story of my life. Because they bought me from Akrata and they never paid. They only paid, I don't remember how much money they paid, but it was like a very significant amount compared to buying a goalkeeper from another club, professional club, right?
Yeah.
A goalkeeper who's ready to play.
Right.
They bought me, I wasn't ready to play.
Yeah. So was it professional back then? So your full-time
Well, it started in
occupation?
1979.
Okay.
Professional.
So you're getting paid a full-time wage,
Yeah.
supposedly. Didn't have to do a second job.
And actually, my first friendlies as a professional was here in Australia.
Oh, really?
Really?
Because AEK won that championship then, and one of the goalkeepers was playing for the national team. They had to prepare for this Euro 1980. So here in Australia came the second goalkeeper and me as a youngster, 19 years old. So I played my first friendly in Melbourne
Wow.
with AEK.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, with Megas Alexandros at the time.
Yeah.
Which is Heidelberg, I think.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I played that game. And
What a connection.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like a karma thing because it's all connected here in Australia.
Yeah.
Back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So special forces, you were there for what, 12 months?
I was there for 26 months because I was
26
punished as well another couple of months because I didn't show up in the it's called what is it called when you have to you go before to do some tests, and for some reason I didn't get the notification. I didn't go, and you get 2 months jail.
So you went to jail as well?
You don't go to jail, but it's called 2 months jail, but that means 2 months extra on top of your whatever you have to serve.
Wow.
So I did 26 months.
Wow.
So I'd stay inside for 5 days, and then they give me a day off to go and play a game and come back. So apparently my form started dropping.
Yeah.
And, confidence and all that. And then they bought this goalkeeper. He played for a while. And then after a couple of years, they bought another goalkeeper. I'd play a little bit. Then he'd play for a while. So up to about 29 years old, I was really literally playing a bit on and off and just being a reserve goalkeeper. Yeah. Now, there are other clubs that are asking for me. But because at the time, football was not professional in the sense of, the philosophy and the way it is overseas, being a cold 100% professional, he's not good, sell him to another club. They wouldn't do that there because you're considered a talent coming from your team roots.
Yeah.
They don't want to sell you to another team, and then you start playing well there.
Of course.
And then the team cops, like the president and the coaches cop the dirt. Then why did you sell him? Because he's a good goalkeeper or a good player.
Yeah.
So
got rid of
if
him.
you didn't play, you would be hostage in your own team.
Yeah.
You'd have to sit on the bench and shut up.
Wow.
And just train.
Yeah. But all of this is a very far cry from the nickname that we mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah, Mr Protathlima.
Mr Protathlima. Tell us a little bit about that, because you were part of a very
Before I
important
tell you
period.
that, I want to tell you a story, because I started off with telling you about the chubby kids and all
Yes.
that. So there's an incident. We went to pre-season to Holland. So we were out in this town outside of the big cities and all that, because there's camps there and there's, hotels and facilities that you can train on and do all your pre-season training and that. So at some stage, at this town shows up Demis Roussos. Right? He had a concert.
Wow.
I don't know if it was lip syncing or not, but he had this concert, right? And we happened to meet as we were walking. We started to talk. So when I told him my story, because he asked me my name and all that, and I told him, he said, I've heard of you. And I said, well, I've sung a lot about your songs, so I don't know, needless to say what I know about you.
Yep.
He told me the story that when he was a kid too, He said, you know, because you remember Demis Roussos when he was
a big
when
guy.
he was healthy, he was
Very
a big guy
well fed,
with his long beard and his
Catarasa.
kimono and all those stuff that he used to wear.
That's it.
You know,
He was a picture of health.
The hippie. So he told me that, you know, when I was a kid, I used to play goalkeeper too.
Yeah.
You know why? I had the sandwich in my hand. He said,
Classic.
So classic. We started laughing, and I remember that incident always.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say that because look,
That's brilliant.
Demis Roussos at the time is like meeting a big superstar.
Absolutely.
In singing here
Definitely.
and having a conversation
Sure,
out of the
100%.
blue. These times you can't because there's so many security and all that. You can't see these people. Then you could just walk up to them.
The thing that spun me out about Demis Roussos, because I didn't know too much about him, early on, and when I started doing my research, I found out about, the band that he was in, Aphrodite's Child.
Yeah, imagine playing next to Vangelis.
Exactly. That's where I was going with this.
Wow.
The guy who wrote Chariots of Fire, they were in a band together.
Legends.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I digress.
No, that's a good
right.
digression.
So yeah, I knew all that because of my age, and I like music, so I'd follow a lot. And I knew all that, and we had a very nice conversation for about 10, 15 minutes, and then he had to go.
Yeah.
We couldn't go to the concert, unfortunately, because we had to go to bed early.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, so the question
Yeah,
was
sorry.
about, going from the army effectively and being down on form to then all of a sudden having this nickname, Mr. Championship effectively.
Okay, so I'll tell you what happened.
Yeah.
That started in 1988. So towards the end of the season, 87-88, because it's half year.
Yep.
You start in September, you finish in June. I started playing for a while, and I played well. We managed to go into the UEFA competition, like the Europa League it is today. We qualified for that.
Yep.
I think we came third or something. At that time, there was a coach that finished his contract and the president that left and sold the shares to another guy who owned Bouzouka. All right, his name is Stratos Gidopoulos. He was the president. He used to be a goalkeeper too. He used to play for Orfi.
Right.
Now, he was in the night business. And I remember, the newspapers said that AEK biggest Bouzouka because he bought the shares, and all that.
Yep.
So he managed to bring Dusan Bajevic as a coach, who was my teammate when I was younger.
Right.
Starting at the age of 20, he was my teammate. So he knew me. But that doesn't mean anything. He knew me and he knew Stelios Manolas. We were the only two that came from that generation playing with him as teammates.
Right.
He left after. He went and played a couple of years in Yugoslavia. Then he became a coach over there, and then they brought him over here because he knew about the Greek. He knew how to speak Greek.
Yep.
He knew about the Greek,
Greek league system.
all that, the teams and the mentality as well.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good. So he came in as a coach, right? And we started our pre-season. We went to Austria. There was only me and another younger goalkeeper. So usually clubs have 3 goalkeepers, right?
Yeah.
So we went up there. I started playing really well. And then they brought Adonis Minou from Panathinaikos, who was playing in Panathinaikos the previous year. So again, I felt like, look, now I get a chance to play again. They bring someone else again. So what's going to happen is I'm going to get less chances. He plays a little bit well or decent. He's going to get the position because they paid money for him.
Yeah.
It's like buying a new studio
Yeah.
and still working with the old one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to use the new one, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with soccer, and
Yeah.
back then too. So I started feeling uncomfortable, and I told the coach, and he's put me down. He said, "Look, I can understand your frustration. I know a few things because they've told me previously what's happened. I don't want this to sound like a cliche or that I'm telling you something that you think I'm going to be lying at you. But he said, I'm going to give you all the same chances. Whoever's the best for me is going to play.
Yep.
And that's why he said, I'm telling you because I don't want you to be frustrated and start kicking the bucket with the milk. If you understand my expression.
Terminology.
So he said, go for it.
Yeah.
And if you're better than him, I don't care if he's a transfer. I don't care how much money they paid for him.
Yeah.
If you play better than him, you will play. So that gave me a bit of a,
confidence.
Like that bell in Rocky.
Yep.
Yeah.
The bell that hit and he went out and started punching.
Yep.
So the same thing. So we played the friendlies and I actually was really good.
Rocky too.
Rocky or whatever Rocky. That bell used to go always when he used to switch.
It was Rocky too.
Yeah,
when
anyway.
his wife came out of the coma.
That's right, that one. The wife came out of the coma.
Yeah.
So, and I played well and then he played me. That's it.
Yeah, wow.
And that was history.
And that was 1989.
That was beginning 1988 season, 1989. So September.
Yep.
So we played in the European League as well. I played very well as there.
So tell us about the year. Obviously, you won a few trophies that year for AEK.
Well, yeah, we won. We actually won the league after 10 years because it was usually either Panathinaiko or Olympiako.
Yeah.
The previous one, 1987-88, was won by Larissa. It was the first club from the country that won the title.
Yeah.
So we were second. So we won it that year. I was voted best player of the year. I started playing for the national team as well.
Yeah.
And then come the next season, starting with pre-season, there's always a game that's called the Super Cup.
Yep.
And it's a team that's won the league against a team that's won the cup.
Right.
So we played against Panathinaikos and we drew. And then we had penalty shootouts. And I saved Kalanzi's penalty and we won the title there as well.
Wow.
So,
and that's where you got the nickname, Mr. Championship.
From the title, because during the championship, the point system was different than it is today. So instead of 3 for the win, 1 for the draw and 0 for losing, it was 2 for the win, 1 for the draw, 0 for losing. So imagine when you're winning, you're not actually going too far ahead because it's only 2 points. So if your team that's chasing you or was with you drew, you'd only have 1 point different instead of 2. Now, if that happens twice and you have 3 points difference, suddenly it's 4 points different or 6 if they lose.
That's right.
But in that system, we were always close with Olympiako and Panathinaiko. So it was an ongoing thing,
close competition
until the end. We actually played the game, the second last game of the season, against Olympiakos in the Olympic Stadium, 80,000 people. And we were a point ahead. And we played that game and we beat them 1-0. And that's how we won the championship.
Won the league. Wow.
So what were
I saved 3 penalties that season. All 3 penalties away.
Wow.
The 1 penalty we played in Kalamaria, Thessaloniki. We were beating them 1-0. And the 88th minute, the referee calls a penalty. And I saved it. And it was a pretty hard one because it was really well taken and really, strong. So I saved that one and we beat them. The other one was against Iraklis in Thessaloniki. Again 0-0, 86 minutes, another penalty, I save it. And the other one was against Ethniko at their home ground. We were beating them 2-1, I think. And then around 75 minutes, they win a penalty. I saved that one too.
So they tried.
They tried, but I didn't let them.
Wow.
So apart from those, I had a few good games as well in total. So that's why they gave me that nickname.
How does it sit with you anyway?
I have no complaints.
What did people say to you?
No complaints.
What were people saying to you around that time? Like, it must have been unbelievable to
it's
to
an
be in that team.
overwhelming feeling. But, I tried to be as discreet as possible and I tried not to mingle too much with people. Also at the time, because I was playing for the national team, that means that every week or every 2 weeks we had a game. I play a game on Sunday with AEK, all right? I'd go home, get ready. On Monday I had to go to the national team.
Wow.
Train on Monday, Tuesday, play a game on Wednesday, come back home Thursday, Friday, Saturday go with the team again for the next game. So I was mostly in the hotel.
Right.
With AEK or in the national team.
So my understanding was you were the talk of the town, talk of Greece that time.
I was, but unfortunately you wouldn't get that big of a promotion because there was no free TV at the time. There was only 2 channels. And there was no magazines or, there was not much of that.
But you did win awards.
Towards the end there was.
I understand you won a couple of awards that year as well. Do you want to explain what those awards were?
Well, the award of being the best player of the league. So there was a meeting in the Holiday Inn Hotel. So all the presidents came and members of the press and all that. And the players that were awarded. There was the first score award, which was Thomas Mavros. Who was gone at Panionios at the time. He was finishing his career. He started in Panionios. He came to AEK and made his big career. And then the last 2 or 3 years, I think, of his career, he went back to Panionios. He actually won the first scorer.
Wow.
So we met there as teammates for so long. We used to hang out together as well. I've even got photos with him on a motorbike. With shorts and stuff. Like going to the beach or something.
That might have been a huge honour, getting voted best Greek soccer player by your colleagues and by the media.
And actually, the vote was like my team couldn't vote for a teammate.
Yeah, right.
They had to vote for someone else from another team. And the same with all the rest of the teams.
Yeah.
So my team would vote, I think, for Saravakos, for Panathinaikos.
Yep.
And then the rest of the teams would vote for whatever. And I got very, second was half the points that I got.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
what a year.
So it was unanimous, really.
Yeah, unanimous recognition.
And then there was another sporting award which you got third.
I got third.
After
Nikos Galis was number one, who was exceptional. He was crazy. He was like Michael Jordan in Greece.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah,
and then the athletes that were in the classic track and field, like
Thano.
Thano.
Yeah,
she was pretty good then too. Yeah, and I got third, and I you wouldn't usually get in the top 5 positions. You wouldn't usually get a soccer player. You would get all the rest of the sports.
All the individual athletes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow, what a year!
Yeah, it was a great year.
And then you made the national team for the first time in '89.
No, I made the national team in 1984.
Oh, 84.
Yeah,
okay.
when that coach who left AEK in 1981, Papapostoglou, became the coach of the national team.
Yep.
And there was a friendly we played in East Germany.
Oh,
Yes.
right.
So I had to go there with the team.
Yep.
And actually, it's funny because my passport had expired, so the rest of the team left.
Yep.
And I had to rush to go to the embassy and do the passport,
Really?
and then fly the next day by myself through Budapest.
Yep.
And somebody picked me up at the airport at Berlin.
Australian passport or Greek passport?
No,
at this
Greek
point?
passport.
Greek passport. Okay.
And I had to use a Greek passport.
Yeah.
So then he'd drive me an hour and a half outside in, I think it was Karl Marx Stad. That's
Karl Marx.
Karl Marx is
Stadium.
a
Wow.
city outside of Berlin, because
Yeah.
that's a time when we
Eastern
had the
Bloc.
wall and all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff, you know.
So what year? So 80,
84,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
84.
Wow.
And I
War.
played half of the game there.
Yeah.
And
And
went
what was
well.
that crowd like? That would have been.
Oh, not really loud.
A bit more passive?
No, they were. Look, it was a friendly game. It wasn't
Okay,
really.
it didn't mean much.
We drew, I think, 1-1, something like that. Yeah, it was a good result.
effort. Yeah.
Because back in the day, those eastern side.
It says here it was 1-0 to East
Oh,
Germany.
1-0 maybe. Yeah. So
There you go.
Yeah, goal hero there, Tom.
So yeah. Anyway, so
Giannis Giannakis.
yeah. So the thing is that the teams back then, they were really. It's not like today.
Yeah.
Because you had West Germany, but East Germany was equally strong.
Yeah, definitely.
Then you had teams like Poland or Romania or the United Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
They were really hard to beat, mate. They
Yeah.
were really great teams, individual teams like club wise, or
Yeah.
the national team. They were crazy.
And this is when, as you said earlier, this is when European football was European.
That's right.
This is pre a lot of the African players and the Asian players and all that sort of thing.
I remember there was a thing about the players that came from other countries that were Greek.
Yep.
For example, we had Patekas, Jim, who was Aussie Greek,
Yep.
and we had Frank Klopas, who was American Greek. So they couldn't play them both.
Yeah.
But they were allowed to play either 2 then or 3, because that was in early 90s or mid 90s. They were allowed to play 2 or 3 foreign players, and one homogenes liatis. I don't know how you say that in English. So one of those players, and if they wanted to
heritage
play
player.
Klopas,
Yeah.
Jim had to come out for him to fill his position.
Oh, right.
You're not allowed to have 2 of those players on the field.
Wow. Okay.
And, that was a great thing, because that kept your national school
yeah.
National.
alive, national,
Yeah.
Now these days, you see France, okay, I know they were conquerors and all that, but you see like 10 black players.
Yeah.
I'm not racist or whatever, but I'm just saying that French traditionally were not black.
Well, what was
Yeah.
that thing that came out during the World Cup? It was like, that Africa really won the World. We're talking about the
That's
previous
right,
World
because
Cup.
But
Most of the
look,
players
I
were
have to
African.
point out though here that it's not France's fault, because I have read an interview by Mbampe's father, who said that they went. I think he's Cameroon or something. I'm not sure which one, which country it is. He went to the federation there,
Yep.
and they asked for a ridiculous amount of money for him to sign to become the African player for to be able to play in the national team later.
Yeah.
And he said, I didn't have that kind of money. And when I, approached the French Federation,
Yeah.
they said, for free, bring him in.
Yeah.
So you can't really blame France for
course
that.
not.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of, especially in Africa or places poor places, there's a lot of monkey business going behind the scenes, you know, and a lot of black market and stuff.
Of course.
Yeah.
So
His
in a
dad
way,
was Cameroon.
Cameroon, that's
Yeah,
right.
and his mum was from Algeria.
Yeah.
You reckon
So-
they're kicking themselves?
Well, they
Cameroon
probably
or
are.
Algeria?
Yeah, they were
Algeria's got
Cameroon.
a French connection, don't
Yeah,
they?
they do. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget that Zinedine Zidane is
Yeah,
from
Algeria.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
I'll have a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
mate,
I don't know if I'm
definitely.
talking too much.
No, you're
Oh,
doing
yeah.
well, mate. It's interesting stuff.
there you go.
I just wanted to touch on. So we talked about how passionate the Greek crowd is.
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming just a little bit, mate.
Good stuff.
Just a little bit about on the coaches now. So I'm sure you had some really passionate coaches.
Especially the Greek ones, but you know, usually the big clubs
Yeah.
usually would use, especially after 1978, I'd say 1979. Especially after that, they started using a lot of imported, especially, you know, like German,
Yep.
Austrian, Spanish,
Yeah.
a lot of them.
Wow.
So I had a lot of foreign. The only Greek I really had was Miltos Papapostoglou, and then at some stage in the mid 80s, for a bit of time, we had Kostas Nestoridis with one of the other Greek boys that were together,
Yeah.
just for a little period of time until they found,
Yeah.
you know, the foreign coach. So you had a lot of foreign coaches.
So I'm assuming there'll be a huge difference in the change rooms at, say, half-time if you're a goal down. Would you get many massive sprays from the Greek coaches, or were the foreigners just as bad? And give us some examples if you've got
No,
any.
I wouldn't say that the foreigners is that bad. I think the Greek ones, yeah. And we had also at some stage we had Nikos Alefandos as well, who was well known for him to be, you know, like exploding type of guy.
So tell us some
He was
examples
a
of that.
lot of. Do you say prejudice when somebody believes in black cats and stuff like that? How do you say it?
Superstitious?
Superstitious. That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, superstition.
That's,
Yeah.
that's superstitious.
Yeah.
He once was in a team and they were going with the bus.
Yeah.
And a black cat passed in front and he said to the bus driver, reverse, take the other street.
Wow.
Because he was so superstitious. He
Really?
used to always wear the same T-shirt at
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
Let's just say I'm wearing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every game, as a coach, I would
to
wear
wear the
this.
same.
Nothing else.
That's an arostia at
that's,
that point.
well, you know. And then he
Did
was
it
very,
work for
he
him?
was very explosive, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, very passionate.
Can you give us some... So, okay, I'll put a scenario. So you're down 1-0, a game you should be winning. You go in at half-time. You're coming in, you're sucking in the big ones, having water, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you have oranges at half-time?
Oh, you have electrolytes.
Electrolytes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe that's under fives, Tom.
Yeah.
Oranges.
The oranges, yeah.
Yeah, electrolytes.
And you sit in the and you all sit down, you sit in your
yeah,
positions.
it's quiet.
And then what happens?
Unless there's a bit of a quarrel between a couple of players because of some sort of...
Wow, does that happen?
Oh, it happens, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, look, don't forget that everything's in line,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Everything's...
So
it's
is there,
huge.
is there a lot of blaming? Oh, you should have done that, or you should have done
Yeah,
this.
that too, but, you know,
Yeah.
the coaches more, especially the Greek ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would be more
Is there
aggressive.
any falhares thrown around in the change room? No.
Not in professional level.
Okay.
It wouldn't happen.
I've seen a baseball bat go through a wall in a first grade game.
Yeah.
Well, I was outside the dressing room at the
Yeah.
time.
Well, there's a famous story about, I think it was Alex Ferguson at United. Supposedly he kicked
He
boot,
kicked the boot and it hit
Beckham in the head.
Beckham in the eye.
But that's what they say. It was a boot. But
Who knows? Well, Beckham says the same. So if he's supporting the
okay.
story,
There you go.
yeah.
yeah, you never know.
Were anything like that in your experience?
Not really. The only thing I do remember is that almost there was a fight between Alefandos and Mavros. Because at the time Mavros was playing, but the team wasn't going well. All
Yeah,
right?
usually
And when
happens.
the team doesn't go well and you got an attacker, like, for example, Ronaldo,
Yeah.
if he's not being fed, he cannot do everything for you.
Yeah.
Because he's got two players on his neck.
Yeah.
And it's hard to receive the ball without being hassled by one or two defenders,
Yeah.
then trying to control it, turn around and try to dribble and score as well. You can't do all that. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So he went against Mavro, and in the second half he pulled him off.
All right.
And Mavro was never pulled off. It doesn't matter how bad he was playing, if he was playing bad.
Yeah.
Because he's one of those players that can really turn around quickly,
Yeah.
shoot and score a goal
Yeah.
at any minute.
Yeah.
That's how massive, talented, and
Yeah,
he
determined he was. I know him well because we used to sleep in the same room
Yeah.
with when we'd go to the
Bunk
hotel
together.
with the team.
Yeah.
So I was with him, and I know his mentality. All right, you can see it. You know.
Yeah.
So he pulls him out, and then the whole Yipado starts shouting his name.
Really.
and the coach got the shits, and he went out of the bunker and he started, having fights with the fans.
Really?
Oh, you should, chant for AEK and not for Mavro, because AEK's the team, Mavro's not the team.
Yeah.
And in the end, what happened? They sacked him.
Oh, really?
And Mavro had to leave, and he went to Panionios.
Really?
And the funny thing is, the next year, Alefatos has gone to PAOK as a coach, and Mavro went to Panionios as a player. Scored him 3 goals. Karma is a bitch, isn't it?
Yeah. Very way to get back to someone, isn't it?
That's why there's a Greek ad. They add this. There's an ad about chewing gum.
Yep.
And somebody says something stupid, like the one you have here, and it says, "Oh, did somebody say KFC?"
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So something like that, and the ad goes, "It's better to chew than to talk."
Yeah.
So they show the tsikla. Καλύτερα να μασάς παρά να μιλάς.
Yeah.
You know.
Classic.
So that's the thing. You know.
Yeah. Wow.
Now that you said Alex Ferguson, though, I have to pull out a joke.
Go on.
All right. So there's this Greek sports sort of show.
Yep.
And one of the sportscasters is Sotiropoulos, is one of the biggest ones that apparently he was doing this game where anybody could call on the radio and ask him a question, and if he didn't know it, he would win something, a prize, because this guy apparently was like Google at the time, right?
I might have seen this on YouTube.
There was no internet.
Yep.
Okay.
So people,
I've seen clips of him.
He had this TV for like this huge TV for a gift. If somebody would ask a question, and he wouldn't know the answer, so he was answering to all the questions, and nobody would win the TV. So he gets the last call. He says, "This is the last call." And this guy calls and he says, "Look," like that. "Look, anything I ask you, I know you're going to know. So I'm going to ask any question I want." So he started laughing. And he thought, "All right, let's give it a go." So he says, "All right, give me your question." And he says, "What brand of chewing gum does Alex Ferguson chew?"
Wow.
It's Sikla Masai or Ferguson. You know?
Classic.
So he said, "I don't know, you win the TV."
There you go.
That's a joke just because you said about Ferguson.
You could have
just
made
to
it
give
up.
you know, the... I don't
concept.
know, but it was live on the radio. You could hear it.
Yeah.
I've got to ask you now, in a similar vein, you've obviously seen Taki Tsoukalas' show, the Olympiacos. What do you think of that? I mean, it's hilarious. It's the most hilarious thing I've ever seen on Greek TV.
He's obviously biased, of course, because he's an Olympiaco.
Yeah.
And some of the things he says is not right, but, you got to give it to him because it's really funny. And you know what? I enjoy the other guy. Because the other guy, when he does a boom boom or whatever he says, it just turns around and starts laughing like that, says nothing, and you can see the expression on his face. It's hilarious. Or when he falls off the chair. That's the funny one.
Imagine having a show like that here. Seriously, it'd never get on.
No, it'd be nuts.
Who would do that?
It'd get banned.
Probably. Because they use language as well.
It's unbelievable.
Profanity.
Anyway,
what was the year you had most caps for Greece? Remember, was that 89?
That was 89, 90.
Okay.
Yeah, those 2 years.
Tell us some of those games, and what were they for qualifiers?
Okay, now one of the games I had, which was a friendly, was one of the games that I consider my highlight. As who I wanted to play against.
Was it against England?
It was against England.
Lineker?
So, no, Lineker was not playing, but Peter Shilton was playing. And Gordon Banks was my favourite keeper. Back in the day, although he wasn't playing for Manchester United. And then later on, Peter Shilton was one of my favourites. That was before the time that they started importing goalkeepers. Right. These are the classic, Ray Clemens for Liverpool. He was also an exceptional goalkeeper. Because I was a goalkeeper from a young age, I used to appreciate the goalkeepers, even though they would play for Liverpool or some other team. It doesn't matter. Like David Seaman, who played for Tottenham, I think, Arsenal, sorry.
England goalkeeper.
Yeah, English goalkeeper too. So I had the privilege of playing, first of all, against Peter Shilton. And we took photos together. I have photos at home, not here in Greece, where we're like this together.
Wow.
He was like 41 at the time or something.
Wow.
He played his last, I think, World Cup in Italy then. 41, 42 years old, something like that.
So this is someone that you would have watched as a kid, or of course.
Wow. And then I played against players like, for example, John Barnes, who was playing for Liverpool. Remember the dark player, John Barnes? He scored one of the goals. And then Robson for United. He scored the other goal. So you're playing against these players now, right?
So Robson's got a statue at Old Trafford.
Yeah, that's right. Against him.
You played against them.
Yeah.
So you'd watch these guys coming at you.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
And you know what you're facing,
expect.
right? You know what you're facing. So for me,
Yeah.
even though it was just a friendly and it wasn't, one of those games that you play for a qualification or whatever, for me that was the highlight of my career as a national player.
And what was the score in that game?
We lost 2-1.
2-1.
We actually scored first.
Really?
We scored first with Saravako. He won a penalty, and like in the first minutes in the opening.
Yeah.
And then Barnes equalised in the first half. He had this free kick.
Yeah.
He kicked the ball over the wall. I dive for it.
Yeah.
I save it. The ball, as I'm in the air, hits the post, hits my back, and goes in.
Oh,
so I was a bit
wow.
unlucky there. And then the second goal was a strike from the 16-yard box from Robson. It went where you can't catch it.
What would it be like? I can't even imagine what it would be like. You're watching these missiles come at you.
Oh yeah. First of all, you can feel the presence of them. And that is something I want to point out with the national team of Greece that made it through the Euro and won the Euro.
Yep.
Now, the huge difference between that team and all the previous teams, I can tell you something. Not a lot, but some of the previous teams, the amount of talent and personality that was on those teams were much better than the team that actually won the Euro. But what the huge difference was that a lot of the players in that Euro that we won were actually playing for sometimes in European teams, which meant that, for example, one of the players was Totti's teammate. Playing with Totti, who's a legend for Roma, you're training with him every day. So after the first starstruck that you have, after about a month, you feel equal because you're training with him every day. So you can test him, he can test you, you can go against him, then you're playing in the same team. So when you're now playing in your national team against him, you don't feel that...
There's no awestruck thing.
Like the team that played in the World Cup and played against Maradona. Manola was telling me that they had shit their pantsers when they were looking at him. And he had that looking like a devil because I don't know if he was under
Coke or something.
whatever. But he had that look that he's going to destroy you. And he did. They beat us 4-0. He scored 1 or 2 goals, I don't remember.
Smashed them.
So, so that team had that privilege. A lot of players were playing in Dynamo Moscow, they were playing in Portugal, they were playing in England, they were playing in Italy. So when they came as a team, they did have like a good team too. I'm not saying that they weren't talented. Of course they were. But because the market opened up and Europe was looking for talent with less money, okay, the doors opened up for the Greeks. Because now I can have more than 2 players, foreign players in my team. So let's try them. But before, when you had only 2 players, you would go for the market that was guaranteed to bring you talent. You wouldn't go for the Greeks because they were known as undisciplined. So you wouldn't get a Greek. And that way, I remember the first player who went overseas was Anastopoulos. He went to Avellino. And it was such a big thing. And Avellino was a team that just came up from 2nd division in Italy. He played a couple of cup games and scored. He went well. And then after, he didn't do much. And that was it. But these players had a good career at the time. Say Darides was playing for Dynamo Moscow. And Karagounis and everybody. So they blended together. We were lucky as well. We were lucky because the teams we played against, a lot of players were playing in the Champions League, especially France. So they were playing with the English teams that were competing to the end of the Champions League at the time. All right? These players were really killed. They had played 80 games or whatever. So they were really, they were struggling to walk, I suppose. So we were fresh, more fresh, and we had the ambition. We had a German coach for the first time, like a foreign coach for the national team. He was pretty good at giving the players a good psychology and all that and believing in themselves. You had a bit of luck as well. You didn't lose more than 2-1 against Russia, which passed you through the next round. And the rest is history. You played against Portugal in the opening game where there was a lot of anxiety for them. Ronaldo was 17 at the time, 17 and a half. They lost that game, and then you play the final against them again. And they have the anxiety from the first game and lose the second game as well. That's how you win it. So timing and a few things play a very big role.
So many things need to line up to be able to win a premiership.
That's right.
And in this instance, everything that you've just spoken about, all of those, the stars absolutely align for us.
And you can see it in any major sport, especially in sports that are with teams. For example, Michael Jordan only won 6
Yeah.
in a 19-year career. He should have won much more.
Exactly.
But it's so hard to win,
Yeah.
which
definitely.
makes the difference.
A lot of it's got to get down to the coach as well. You could have a great, talented team, but you need a coach to harness and get them together. Look, which brings me to my next point I want to talk to you about. There's a famous coach out there at the moment. He's one of the best coaches in the Premier League at the moment. He was born not too far from Nea Filadelfia. Have you got much to do with Ange Postecoglou?
I don't personally know him.
Because his dad was a massive AEK fan growing up.
I don't know him personally, but I do know him from here when he was coaching here and he left to go to Japan.
Yeah.
So I followed the story a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, if when I came here I started going to have a higher level of goalkeeping coach license, maybe we would have met. But because I know that here also there's a sort of a lobby, and when I came here I was 55 and now I'm 64.
Yeah.
So I got the license 4 years ago. You can't really make a big career of a coach when you're over 60. All right?
So what do you think it is with Ange?
So I didn't get to meet him. What I know and what I think is going to work for him is that he was in a league where the teams do not have closets full of money. So he had to find and do the actual scouting to find the players that have the talent.
Yeah.
And he's good at that. So that might help him. Now he's got the money too.
Yeah.
Right.
But it just seems...
And he went well in was it Scotland?
Scotland.
With, Celtic.
He went well for Celtic.
Yokohama, even here.
Yeah.
He won it with Melbourne, he won it with Brisbane.
That obviously shows you a continuation.
Even Australia, he got us our first Asia Cup as well.
Oh, yeah, I remember the Asia Cup too.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is with him? So it's obviously he's got some formula right. He's doing something well.
Yeah.
He's Greek.
And apart from that, that's the obvious one, Tom.
After a couple of oozos or whatever you call them.
Because at the
That's
moment
important.
he's the talk of the town in the Premier League.
He is.
He's
And
got
rightfully
Tottenham
so.
up there.
Rightfully so.
The
only thing I'm worried about Tottenham is the owner. Now you can see even today, I know he's trying to justify his position and his all that, but you can't come out and say that although Mourinho and Conte are great coaches, they were not for our team, and it was a mistake that we hired them. Whether you like Mourinho or not, there's sometimes where I like him and sometimes where I hate him. He's proven himself. Whether he was lucky, he wasn't lucky, blah, 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 whatever you want to say, he has proven to be one of the top coaches. Now, his style might be out of fashion now because he plays that old, defensive or park the bus or whatever you want to say, but he got results. Okay. And I think he is right when he said that that Levy stopped him from winning that cup. Or European Cup, was it?
Yeah.
Because he got kicked out before. They didn't give him the opportunity to.
Yeah. But the feeling I get, Ange doesn't care what anyone thinks. He's got everyone on board.
I think
the players, the crowd, it's just something about him, some aura about him. And again, it's not a fluke. He's done this so many times. He did it with Yokohama.
I think, first of all, he's humble.
Yes.
100%.
Definitely.
Okay? But second, he knows what he's doing. And I feel that the players and the crowd have that sense that he does know what he's doing.
Yeah.
So that gives the whole club, gives them a confidence. Given also that Harry Kane left, that's another thing you've got to take under consideration. Kane has been there for years, and he was the fear of the opponents because he was the number one big gun.
Yeah, well,
then you got Son and the rest, but he was the number one.
Yeah,
and combination with Son, they did some unbelievable, things.
But there's something about him. He demands he says the change room is for the players, but there's some aura about him that players, everyone respects him, even Levy, the crowd.
Well, he does have a background also now. He's not someone who just came from Australia. Step by step by step, success.
Yeah,
Japan. They're pretty competitive over there too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, even Saudi Arabia now, that there was a lot of talk about Ronaldo going over there, I watched the games.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
They have talent and they have strong players too.
Yeah.
It's not easy. And the way that's going on, because there's a lot of money, obviously, they can buy themselves what they want.
Well, the standard of the football across the board, I think, is improving. I mean, you see Inter Miami buying Messi, for example. You got Ronaldo going to Saudi Arabia.
Do you know the story behind that, right? Because Inter Miami didn't pay
Oh, really?
The whole fee. There was a meeting between all the clubs, the MLS,
Yep.
American League.
Major League Soccer.
and they all pay money to bring Messi.
Is that right? Okay.
Because that's America. You know, for me, that was the smartest move for Messi to do is go to the United States.
Yeah.
Because he's a good player, he's got his fame,
Yep.
and he's going to attract a lot of people. Now, don't get me wrong, but, you know, first game, Serena Williams is there, LeBron James is there. You think they went to see Messi? No, they went to promote themselves,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
all right, and see Messi.
Yeah.
Messi knows that. He knows that he's going to attract the big names and all that. So what is that? An extra plus.
Yeah.
Then he's going to score a free kick or whatever. He knows what he's doing.
He'll get coverage.
He'll do
Yeah.
it. For me, Messi now is playing an easier league than Ronaldo is.
Yeah.
That's what. Not because Ronaldo played for
Yeah.
United, and obviously I would support Ronaldo more. But I acknowledge what Messi is too. But I think that it was one of the smartest moves that Messi could do.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking that, you know, United States is close to Argentina. I can pop in and go to.
Well, it's the biggest sporting market in the world.
Yeah,
It's the biggest economy in the world.
Marketing started from the United States.
Yeah.
You want to promote anything,
Yeah.
that's where you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's
All
where
right,
the
so
money
he knew
is.
that. So with Ange, that's what I believe. I believe that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
If he has the full support and he doesn't get any triklopodies puleme, I don't know how you say it in like tackles or
Yeah.
and he's got a bit of luck because you need that too.
Yeah, definitely. But he's got a good aura about him. But I did hear, you might have told me this, he wanted to coach AEK one day, but his main goal is...
He said that.
He did say
He
that.
wants to coach Greece because I want to live on a Greek island and coach the Greek national team.
Well, why not?
Yeah, how good would that be?
Well,
happy
I don't
would
know
you
how
be?
good it would be for Angie, but I know it would be good for Greece. Because
Yeah.
you know, over there's a different story. You remember they kicked Ranieri out? Ranieri, Italian coach, right?
Yep.
He was the coach of the Greek national team.
Yep.
So they kicked him out of the team because they thought that he didn't know what he was doing. He goes to Leicester and he wins the championship next year. Things over there's a lot of politics in Greece too.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know,
In
it's-
Greece? No.
No, never is. Never is.
Let's talk a little bit about the quality of Greek football now. Where do you think Greek football currently sits in terms of the national the competition, the Greek Super League, going into the national team? Has it improved over the years? Has it diminished?
Look, in general, whenever we talk about something, in general, progress is always there because a lot of elements go into football. And, for example, number one is science. All right. Now, when I started playing football and I was a kid, I remember they used to encourage us to just be good at school and concentrate on your training in that. And give your big efforts in training because that's where you'll become better. Now, later on, when technology and when science came into the sport, they started realising that if someone's very good at school, therefore very smart, they're much better in playing football because they're smarter, more intelligent.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's changed now.
Yep.
Now clubs want you to finish school
Yes.
and be good at it, and then your football will become better because you're smarter, more intelligent, quicker, everything. So that's just one element that I mentioned now that plays a huge difference
Yeah.
between back then, now. Another thing is there's a lot of money put into the sport, which comes from sponsorships. When there's money, there's more facilities, there's more comfort for the players.
Yep.
Players have been treated like kings. Back in the day, players were considered ταλιτάκια που ήρθαν από το χωριό,
Yeah.
which means the hillbillies,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
the bums that come from and happen to be good at soccer, kicking a ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was a completely different concept and, appreciation or whatever or about someone who was playing football then and playing football now. This also is a bit of a boomerang because now players are considered like world class and some of them are really flops. And I'll give you an idea, an example. Pogba. He came to Manchester United. He was paid like a king.
Yep.
He hardly ever played because he was always injured. And when he did play, he was so arrogant that they had to kick him back to take him to Juventus again. And now they can't sell him because nobody wants to get him. They know him. So a lot of players they're overrated. And this happens because it depends on who you have as a manager.
Sure.
Because as soon as the management came in, a whole different ball game. Now, a lot of money, managers making a lot of money. So there's a lot of promotion. Also, social media has helped a lot. You see these players now that social media is more interested in their haircuts and their beards and who they have as a girlfriend.
Yeah.
See, everybody now has a famous girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Handbag.
And it's usually trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't let them concentrate. You know, it's different to have someone who's a simple girl, and it's different to have, for example, Shakira.
Yeah.
Or I don't know who that you hardly ever see. They're in concerts over the world. You have to concentrate. How do you do that?
Yeah.
It's not easy. So all these things, yes, have helped, but also have created problems as well. And it usually is, you know, when things boom like that, there's always going to be the pros and the cons.
Yeah.
But in Greece, as I said, because a lot of players start playing in Europe, because a lot of foreign players come in as well, and you get players, good quality players, that come to Greece that are from abroad, that help you become better as well in your training sessions, in the everyday thing.
Yeah.
Do you know much about the owner of AEK, Dimitris?
Yes, I had him as a president
Samidis?
when I was there my last 3 or 4 years. He came in with another guy, Yannis Karas. They were together.
Yeah.
Now, the history behind Dimitris Melissanidis is that he started off as an owner of a driver's license company that he had, and then he became very good friends with Yannis Karas, who was in the petrol business.
Right.
And then he started to build on that, and now he's become huge in the petrol business. He's you know, making deals with the United States and stuff like that. And if it wasn't for him, the team owed a lot of money. So we had to go through the process, because there was a law that said that if the team goes down 2 categories to 3rd division, the biggest percentage of the money that they owe will be wiped out.
Really?
Yeah. And you can open up a new, let's say, ABN number
Yep.
under another ABN number and start the new process from the beginning.
Yep.
And that's what happened to AEK. So we went to 3rd division. I remember watching games in 3rd division and 2nd division.
Yeah.
Really?
They went up to 1st division. Now, what he's very capable of, because he's a very strong personality, what he's very capable of is that he will not throw the money away. He's very tight at spending. But what he promises, you get it on the day that he promises.
Yeah.
So if you get paid your wages and your wages on the 30th of a month, every 30th of a month, everybody in the club is paid. He will be tight. He will try to, you know, sort of... Because I had a negotiation with him with my contract too.
Yep.
The last contract I did for the last 2 years. And, you know, I knew it, and I didn't... although I wasn't playing... Again, I could go a little bit higher, but I didn't, because I know that he would kick. And I was at the end of my career and I wanted to finish at the club. So when I told him, he gave me his hand, and that's it. And I get my money every time that the money had to go in my bank account. So, and he's a very strong character, you know. He's in the market.
Yep.
He knows. He knows the ins and outs and all that. He's made his mistakes as well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he hasn't. Because when you got the hot potato in your hand, you're juggling it, you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
But in general, he's been, and you know, we would never ever, after what happened with our home ground that was knocked down because of a political promise, we would never get it back.
Yeah.
He had to fight everybody to do it.
That stadium, how awesome is it? Seriously.
It's been voted the best stadium for 2023 in the world.
I did get voted.
And that's why
Rightfully.
I'm assuming you've been there.
No, I haven't been.
You haven't been there yet.
No,
Okay.
I haven't been there yet. We're planning on going next year with my wife. I haven't been there yet, but it's a beautiful stadium. I've seen.
Yeah.
I saw the whole show. You know.
Yeah.
They had the old players come in. I would have been one of the players to come in.
Yep.
Yeah.
In that presentation when they opened, when they did the opening of the ground, and they had been awarded the Europa Conference League final
Fantastic.
for this year for 2024. In the 4 corners of the stadium, they have 4 big columns.
Yep.
They have 4 photos on.
Yes.
So one is Nestoridis, the other one is Serafidis,
Yeah.
the other one is Tomas Mavros, and the other one is Mimis Papagiannou. So they're legends. You know.
Big names.
I did read a publication, I'm not sure which one it was, but they had you in the AEK's team of the century. They had a squad of 25 and your name was there.
Well, I was put, first of all, I was voted number 5 of goalkeepers of the 80s.
Okay.
So they did this survey and they had, 5 best goalkeepers, 5 best right backs, 5 left
And you were in the
full
top
backs.
5.
I was in the top 5 goalkeepers. I was number 4 or 5. I don't remember, number 4 or 5. And also, back in the day, like when I was playing, I remember my cousins here would call me from Australia because they had the was it PlayStation or the football, whatever it was?
Yeah, FIFA.
And I was the goalkeeper.
There you go.
And because these guys were Olympiacos, they would call me and say, "We scored 3 goals yesterday."
Classic.
And, you know, they'd make fun.
Did it look like you?
Well, yeah.
Classic.
So I was in one of those as well. So,
Yeah.
How good's that?
Do you still have much to do with the club now?
I have friends in the club.
Yeah.
I do talk and older teammates, but because of the distance and the time difference and all that, it's not that easy. When I was living in Greece, I would go with my wife, we'd go watch games and all that.
Yeah,
that was in the Olympic Stadium then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And gather with the boys, have dinner every 2-3 months maybe, whatever. And I have some teammates that from abroad as well that we still talk to today. And when we go back, obviously I'm going to be involved in something, I don't know. Yeah. We'll see.
Well, we can't wait to see.
Exactly. Well,
I'll be in the museum.
Yes.
Some when the museum opens up in the ground, there's going to be some sort of, you know.
Well, in the next 6 months, it's actually going to be 100 years for AEK.
That's right.
It's April 2024.
I was there when it was the 90 years.
Okay.
And a book came out, and I'm in that book as well.
Yeah, wow.
So I know the reporter who is the head of the whole team that organises all the Wikipedia in it and all the photos and all that. So I know him, and he's telling me now that he's running around like crazy to gather all this information and whatever other photos they can find and all that to fix in the 100 years.
Are you going to be involved in any way? Are you going to be there for the 100 years?
No, I don't think so.
I
don't think so. I don't know if there's going to be any more photos of me in there because probably the last 10 years are going to add some more maybe photos of the newer players and all that. I'm not sure how it's going to be, but I'll probably get it when it comes out.
Either way, what an honour to be, you know, mentioned among all of those names.
Yeah, it is.
And as
especially
part of that
a big
history.
club like AEK.
Exactly.
AEK has a different sort of approach and mentality to it because AEK came from people that were kicked out of Turkey in very bad times, and they came in the early 20s and
it's in the name, isn't it? The K stands for Constantinople.
That's right.
Yeah, and I believe there was a team in Constantinople. So these
I think it was Pera Club or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And these people came and they actually bought the land where the stadium is today, and they actually used their hands to dig and start making the ground and the first sort of stands that were wooden and all that.
And
back
is that where AEK Sophia is today?
Same one. Yeah.
Wow.
It's owned by the. So you've got the mother AEK, which is the amateur club, and then you got the professional club, which is paying rent or something. I don't know what the deal is.
Well, it's going to be a great 100 years coming up, and you're part of all that. Yeah. Amazing career, Tom. What do you think about that?
Honour. It's also a big honour to be mentioned and to be around players like. Because I have actually talked and associated and trained with players like Mimis Papaioannou, like even Mimis Domazos who came from Panathinaikos, and Kostas Eleftherakis who came from Panathinaikos. You know, Dusan Bajevic, Tomas Mavros. Kostas Nestoridis, I didn't because he's older, but he was as a coach. Yep. And being around AEK, there's a lot of times that we talked and, you know, and all that and associated. So, you know, it's a privilege and an honour to be around all these legends. Yeah. That were playing back in the day and created the whole, you know, sort of new history of AEK. Yeah,
definitely, mate. And now you're part of the Uzo Talk family, mate. I don't know if that's up there with your honours, but
it's great. It's great.
Yeah. Somehow I don't think it's going to be quite the same. But you know, look, at the end of the day, we're just so happy that we were able to get you in here to have this discussion.
I'm very happy too because this is my first time that I'm actually giving an interview in English about Greek soccer. And
is
all
that right?
It's always in Greece. Wow. So it's always in Greek. So this is my first English interview.
Well, we're honoured to have that. Honoured to have you and honoured to be the first.
That's an honour for me too, mate.
No, awesome, mate. Thank you so much, Spiro.
Thank you very much as well, and good luck with whatever you're doing, and hopefully you get, you know, the people you want to... Because this is also a bit educational for people that are interested in whatever you guys are promoting.
Well, I don't know
if you know. It could be music, it could be soccer, it could be, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you know, but we've had some pretty good guests up until... I mean, we had... last year we had Thanasi Polikadroti, the Bouzouki player.
I know him well because he's AEK too.
Legend.
And he wrote the newer anthem of AEK.
The anthem, yes.
Which didn't really go through, but
Yep.
because they use the old one
Yep.
always.
Well, he sat where you're sitting and he
Exactly.
played for us.
Yeah.
He
And, the
did.
thing, and he's
He's a
having
great guy.
Spiro.
He's a great guy.
And the thing is, he wouldn't leave.
Yeah. I know.
We said, "Oh, play more." We're recording him, and his manager was going mad. He goes, "Nick, we got to
He's gotta
go."
be somewhere.
He's composed some of
He's a legend.
great
He's
songs.
huge.
Absolutely.
Great songs for great singers.
He was telling us stories about, writing stuff with Barrio,
Yeah, I know.
with Kazadzidi, with all of these things. Like, unbelievable names. And he sat right here and played fucking Bouzouki in this
Imagine
room.
what he's seen because, the nightlife is completely different to what my life is. My life was, you have to be home at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll call you or we'll pass by.
Yeah.
That's when I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
When I went to Athens, there were people coming visiting my house to see if I was in or not.
Oh,
Because we had a
really?
game on Sunday. So, there's a big sacrifice for any kind of professional athlete.
yeah.
Even amateur athletes that don't make it through. There's big sacrifices, You don't have your friends, you don't have a life. And that's why it's tricky sometimes because when you finish that, it's like falling through the sky. So you want to start having everything that you didn't have.
Yeah.
Whether that's bad food, drinks, smokes,
Yeah.
girls, going out, whatever,
Yeah.
you name it. And it's only natural because you're always reserved and preserved person
Yeah.
that has to do this, that way,
Yeah.
all the time.
That was a huge element of disciplinary, which sounds like you got
That's
loads
right.
of it.
And some of the, I watched some of the sports today, especially tennis, where you're on your own.
Yeah.
There's nobody else to back you. There's no defender. There's no attacker.
Yeah.
You're there with your racket, and you
Yeah.
have to every time you have to deliver.
Yeah.
You
And
your-
I see sometimes that people are harsh against either Maria Sakkari or Tsitsipas, because they don't win or.
Yeah.
There's a privilege for them to being in the top 10 anyway.
Yeah. Oh, they're doing great.
So,
They're doing.
if they don't win Grand Slams, it's just because probably some other players are more talented. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no other explanation to that.
Yeah.
They're trying their best, You can say that Tsitsipas is a little bit, how do you say it in English? Epipoleos ligo, He shouldn't have his father as his coach.
Yep.
Because his father is not a Grand Slam coach. All right? That's probably a mistake. All right? But Sakkari she's tried so much, mate.
Yeah.
You see her training.
She's an
drill.
amazing athlete.
Actually, the other day with my wife, she's here.
Yeah.
We were watching the drill she was doing.
Yeah.
And my wife said, I got dizzy by just looking 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She's an
Because it's
amazing athlete.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And she even looks it. She's
Yeah.
like a
And,
supreme
and you get
athlete.
people that are easily these days because of social media, but that's in
Yeah.
everything.
That's right.
Everybody just writes something because it's free to write.
Yeah.
And you think it's smart. But it's not that way.
No, look, we definitely
Amazing.
support them. We'd love to get them on the show if we could. But
That'd be great.
yeah,
Great.
great athletes.
We saw Tsitsipas. We went last year with my wife. There was this tournament here in Sydney.
Yep.
Yep.
And we saw the game Tsitsipas against Di Matteo. We saw that game. He beat him. It was Italy, Greece.
I was there.
Yeah, we were there too.
I was there too.
I've got photos on my
There
phone.
you go.
And I've got him when he's warming up, and you can see he's back with his long hair.
Yeah. Oh, there you
Anyway,
go.
we couldn't get close, but we went and watched the game. We
Yeah.
like tennis. We go
Brilliant.
and watch.
No, good.
And, it's a privilege because Greece is a country that has nothing to do with tennis.
Yeah.
The previous well-known sort of name in tennis in Greece is Maria Sakkari's mother, Economopoulos,
Oh,
which
really?
I used to watch when I was playing soccer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In tournaments. But she didn't make it really big, but she was playing in some sort of like Acropolis tournament.
Local comps.
Or whatever, but she was good. But she was nothing like her daughter. Her daughter's huge these days.
Yeah.
When you're in top 10, that's a big
Oh,
number.
that's massive. That's huge. Yeah. No, good on them, mate. We've got some good athletes here in Greece.
Hopefully you will get some here.
Yeah. Oh, we do.
Well, well, just on that, I mean, we mentioned some of those names, but just to reiterate, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander James Stavridis. We've had comedian Angelo Tsaroucha. We've had Mark Bouris. We've had
world champion boxer.
We've had George Kambosos Jr. And now we're proud to say that we now have Spiros Economopoulos as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Can I just add something before we go? Because
Yeah,
we
of
never
course.
mentioned anything about the Matildas.
Yes.
I just wanted
please.
to say that was a huge step.
Yeah.
And I actually thought that the refereeing against us, especially against when we played France was not really the refereeing that should for a hometown country that's playing the World Cup, because as you can remember, they won a corner when the girl who made the cross was 1 metre outside. They won the corner and then they scored the goal, and luckily it was a foul on the defender. We could have lost that game, from bad refereeing. But I want to give a shout out to the girls as well and the whole staff. I know that Tony Franken, the ex-legend here in Australia, was goalkeeper coach of the girls. I recently saw him one of the workshops in the Australian Soccer Federation. There's workshops that we attend to get points for our licence, and he was in one of the last ones, and he was mentioning a lot what was going on with the Matildas and the preparation for the penalty kicks and all that. So and I think that the crowd was massive, and it was probably a great promotion. But
100%.
I think that the crowd was proud of the event. Just that the fact that the team was attending a World Cup. Doesn't matter what the result was.
They outdid the Socceroos. In terms of interest, like by every measure, by social media standards, by sale of the Matildas jersey, by viewership, it was unbelievable. Did you ever expect that?
You also had a good level of football playing, not only by the Matildas, but by other clubs as well. So that helped promote.
Definitely.
And it's very good that it happened.
Well, hopefully it's a good segue for Australia getting the World Cup for men's as well. Shows we can put on a good show.
It'd be pretty
imagine
special.
Having that here.
I think it's a harder thing to do because the men's level, and especially in European countries, is much bigger. And it's a tradition, I don't know, hundreds of years now. It's not easy to break. Even though the level in some countries has fallen because of all the political stuff that has happened and all the mingling of other people and and the falling of the Eastern Bloc from Russia, Soviet Union and all that. Some teams were much stronger than today. And that's why probably Greece has got a bigger chance into getting something better in European football.
Awesome. Well said, mate. Well done. Gather Matildas.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Spiro, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
uzotalk@outlook.com is the email. Send us your messages and follow us on social media at uzotalk and at uzo_talk on Instagram. Nick Athanasiou, thank you very much, mate.
Tom, your legend. Thank you. And thank you, everyone.
See you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Ακολουθήστε μας στο Soundees, στο Spotify, στο Apple Podcasts και στο Google Podcasts.